How could anyone humiliate someone just because they're poor? That's what I asked myself every single day, feeling their judgment pierce my dignity. My name is James, and for years, I worked tirelessly as a humble cleaner for one of the wealthiest families in town. Every day, I faced their harsh words and cruel laughter, yet I always held on to my integrity and hope. While they mocked my poverty, especially the millionaire who treated me as if I was worthless, I quietly protected a secret, one that would soon shatter their arrogant smiles and change our lives forever. They thought they knew me, but they were about to discover just how wrong they were. I never imagined my life would spiral down to being treated worse than the dirt I cleaned every day. Standing on polished marble floors that reflected a life I'd never live, I felt a piercing gaze judging me, sizing me up like an unwanted stain. I remember clearly the millionaire's wife, Vivian, pointing a perfectly manicured finger toward me, disdain dripping from her lips. "Make sure you scrub properly this time, James," she sneered loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. My face burned, humiliation seeping into my bones like acid. I nodded, silent and obedient, even as laughter echoed around the extravagant mansion. I fought back tears of shame and anger, silently questioning how much longer I could endure this life. Every harsh word, every condescending look, felt like a new scar etched deep into my soul. As I knelt on those cold floors, something inside me shifted, whispering, "This isn't all you were meant to be." Despite the daily humiliations, I never allowed bitterness to take root in my heart. Every morning before dawn, I'd wake, whispering quiet affirmations, reminding myself to stay kind and patient. The small gestures kept my dignity alive. A smile to the cook who passed me leftover food, a reassuring nod to the gardener who shared my hardship. These moments, unnoticed by my employers, were lifelines, anchors of humanity in a sea of cruelty. I'd often remember my mother's words, spoken softly before she passed. "James, remember that kindness always returns to those who give it freely." I held on to that belief like a lifeline. Even in my darkest moments, it illuminated my path forward. Yet beneath my gentle exterior, resentment simmered quietly, building up with each passing day. Would this life of kindness and patience ever bring me something other than endless humiliation? One particularly scorching afternoon, I was tasked with cleaning the sprawling gardens surrounding the mansion. Sweat dripped down my brow, the heat relentless, my body aching from exhaustion. Vivian watched me from her shaded balcony, sipping iced tea, smirking with a contempt I'd grown too familiar with. "James, I missed a spot over there." "Oh, wait, you did?" she mocked loudly. I gritted my teeth, silently scrubbing harder, swallowing my pride. But then, from the corner of my eye, I saw a young girl stumble near the garden's edge. Dropping my tools, I rushed forward instinctively, catching her just before she fell. She smiled shyly up at me, whispering a quiet, "Thank you." For a moment, Vivian's mockery faded into insignificance, replaced by the genuine gratitude shining in the girl's eyes. I felt my strength returning, reminding me of who I truly was, someone worthy of respect and kindness. Evenings were my only solace. I'd retreat to my tiny room, lit by a single dim lamp, surrounded by memories of a life I once dreamed possible. Photographs lined the walls, visions of my younger self, smiling freely, surrounded by family who'd long since passed. I often wondered in the quiet solitude if they would be proud of the man I'd become. Patient, enduring, yet still hopeful. My heart ached for the warmth and love I had lost, replaced by days filled with cold indifference. Sometimes as I lay sleepless, I'd hear laughter drifting from the mansion's grand hall, a painful reminder of the life just beyond my reach. Yet, I clung stubbornly to hope, convinced that someday, somehow, things would change for me. Little did I know just how right I would be. One rainy morning, Vivian summoned me to the main hall with a cold urgency in her voice. Drenched and shivering, I hurried inside, unsure of what awaited me. She stood proudly, hands on hips, eyes glinting with malice. "James, "I've discovered something quite interesting," she began, her voice dripping with venom. My heart pounded as she continued. "You've been sneaking away during breaks. I know you have secrets, and I intend to expose every last one." Fear gripped me, my mind racing to comprehend her accusations. I'd been cautious, careful not to reveal my private matters, especially not to her. Yet her triumphant glare made it clear she believed she had caught me in some wrongdoing. Her voice echoed in my ears as the mansion staff gathered, watching me curiously. "Soon everyone will see you're nothing but a fraud," she declared cruelly. My stomach twisted painfully as dread settled in. But even amidst this intense humiliation, a quiet voice within reminded me I had nothing to hide. Or did I? In the days following Vivian's accusations, my life became a living nightmare. Whispers trailed me everywhere, eyes darting away whenever I approached, casting suspicion like shadows. Every task I performed was scrutinized, each action questioned as though I were a common thief. My stomach twisted with anxiety each morning as I faced the hostile silence of the mansion's staff. Yet, I kept my head down, continuing to clean and scrub, forcing myself to ignore their distrustful glances. Each evening, alone in my room, exhaustion mingled with shame. What hurt most was knowing my integrity, the only possession I truly valued, had been unjustly tarnished. How could I prove my innocence? I whispered to myself, feeling more isolated than ever. One afternoon, while meticulously polishing a priceless vase, I overheard Vivian speaking harshly on the phone. Her voice, usually dripping with arrogant confidence, trembled with a hint of panic. "You promised you'd handle this quietly," she hissed, glancing nervously toward the hallway where I stood frozen. My curiosity ignited immediately. What was she hiding? Quietly, I retreated, my heart pounding. Later that day, when no one was looking, I glimpsed an envelope discreetly discarded by Vivian in a hallway trash bin. Driven by instinct, I retrieved it, discovering a series of alarming letters. Financial threats, demands for repayment, warnings of imminent scandal. My pulse quickened. Vivian was in trouble. A new, unexpected layer of my tormentor's life unfolded before my eyes, offering a glimpse behind her cruel facade. Could this information shift the balance of power? Conflicted, I spent sleepless nights grappling with what I'd uncovered. Should I confront Vivian, or wait patiently for justice to unravel naturally? My mind was a battleground, morals warring with bitterness. One quiet evening, cleaning a forgotten corner of the mansion's library, I found an old journal tucked away beneath dusty books. Flipping through its delicate pages, I discovered it belonged to Mr. Edwards, Vivian's husband. The entries spoke of loneliness, regret, and a yearning for genuine connections, not money or status. A soft, empathetic part of me awakened as I read his vulnerable thoughts. Perhaps underneath all this cruelty, others in this mansion felt as lost and unhappy as I did. I resolved to hold my findings close, unsure yet how they might aid me, but sensing their significance. Yet just as I saw faint hope ahead, another blow struck. Vivian called me into the lavish dining room, standing confidently in front of her husband and a crowd of elegantly dressed friends. She waved a small object in the air, a gold-plated pocket watch. "Missing your watch, dear?" she asked loudly, eyes glittering malevolently at me. "I found it in James's quarters." My heart stopped. I had never seen that watch before. Murmurs of shock rippled through the crowd, eyes turning coldly toward me. Mr. Edwards looked hurt, betrayed, yet conflicted. I stammered weakly, pleading my innocence, but my voice was drowned by Vivian's confident accusations. She leaned closer, whispering cruelly, "Now everyone sees what you truly are, a pathetic thief." My heart shattered at her venomous words, my vision blurring with tears. That night, packing my scant belongings, certain dismissal loomed over me like a dark storm. But a soft knock interrupted my despair. It was Mr. Edwards, solemn and thoughtful. "James," he said gently, "I've never believed Vivian's accusations. She's blinded by something deeper, fear." He hesitated, his eyes heavy with sadness. I've seen your dignity amidst all the cruelty, and I apologize deeply." He handed me an old photograph. My breath caught as I recognized a younger Mr. Edwards standing next to a woman whose face I knew intimately. "Your mother and I were once close friends," he whispered, his voice trembling. Shock surged through me, 1,000 emotions colliding within my chest. He continued quietly, "She was one of the most honorable people I've known, and I see her goodness reflected clearly in you." Tears blurred my vision as the unexpected truth filled me with new strength. Had fate brought me here for a greater purpose? The photograph lay trembling in my hands as Mr. Edwards departed quietly, leaving me alone in the small servants' quarters. A flood of memories washed over me. My mother's gentle smile, her warmth, her unwavering moral compass. Why had she never spoken of her connection to Mr. Edwards? Lost in thought, I barely noticed the morning arrive, bringing another day of work and humiliation. However, now armed with the knowledge of my mother's friendship with Mr. Edwards, my suffering felt less futile. I walked the halls of the mansion with renewed confidence, determined to uncover more about this secret past. Yet Vivian seemed more vigilant than ever, sensing my growing defiance, her watchful eyes narrowing suspiciously at every opportunity. One evening, as I quietly tended to the garden, Mr. Edwards approached once more, his gaze kind and reassuring. "James," he said softly, "you remind me so much of your mother, her dignity, strength, and kindness. Don't let Vivian extinguish those qualities." He handed me a small envelope, whispering gently, "I believe this belongs to you." Curiously, I opened it later that night, finding an aged, folded document, a deed to a modest, forgotten cottage. My heart raced. This was my mother's home, left secretly to me. Why had she kept this from me? Perhaps she had foreseen a day when I'd need refuge from cruelty, a sanctuary far from humiliation. Hope sparked within me, fragile but persistent, lighting the darkness that had consumed me. Despite this newfound hope, Vivian's hostility escalated. She seemed intent on breaking my spirit entirely, humiliating me at every turn, belittling me openly in front of the entire staff. Each insult burned deeply, yet fortified by Mr. Edwards' revelations, I stood resolute, refusing to crumble. One afternoon, Vivian cornered me, eyes blazing with hatred. "I don't know what game you're playing, James," she hissed, "but I will ensure you're thrown from this house like the worthless thief you are." Her words cut deep, igniting my simmering anger. I clenched my fists, forcing calmness, replying quietly but firmly, "I'm not afraid of you anymore." Her stunned silence was a small victory, but the real battle still loomed ominously ahead. Feeling lost amidst Vivian's threats and my uncertain future, I sought solace in my mother's cottage. Its simplicity offered clarity, the silence a chance to hear my own thoughts clearly for the first time. One evening, as the setting sun painted the sky golden, Mr. Edwards visited, sharing tea on the humble porch. "James," he spoke wisely, "there's a powerful saying that guided your mother. Character is not defined by how others treat us, but by how we respond to their cruelty." His words resonated deeply, reminding me of who I truly was beneath the pain and humiliation. "Your strength is in your kindness," he continued. "Never lose sight of that." I felt tears sting my eyes, realizing this profound advice had arrived precisely when I needed it most, guiding me towards a clearer path. Following Mr. Edwards' advice, I embraced a newfound clarity and inner strength, no longer allowing Vivian's cruelty to dictate my worth. Each insult she hurled became an opportunity to practice dignity, resilience, and forgiveness. My calm demeanor increasingly unsettled her, leaving her confused and frustrated. Slowly, whispers among the staff changed. They now observed Vivian's behavior critically, noticing the stark contrast between her hostility and my quiet strength. Encouraged by their growing respect, I worked diligently, rebuilding my confidence brick by brick. At night, within the quiet comfort of my mother's cottage, I planned my future, determined to honor her legacy through compassion, courage, and quiet resolve. Yet, deep within me, an uneasy feeling lingered, hinting that a final, dramatic confrontation awaited me. With each passing day, I felt more like the man my mother had raised me to be, patient, humble, and resolute. Mr. Edwards's advice guided me firmly. Vivian's harsh words and cold glances no longer held power over my peace. The small cottage became my sanctuary, restoring my spirit after long, draining days. The garden flourished under my care, and even the mansion's staff noticed my newfound serenity and confidence. Some openly expressed their admiration, encouraging my quiet rebellion against Vivian's tyranny. Yet, beneath my newfound calm, I couldn't shake the premonition that something significant was about to unfold. Soon enough, my intuition would prove disturbingly accurate. One rainy afternoon, as I meticulously cared for the mansion's gardens, Vivian stormed towards me, her anger palpable. She thrust a document into my hands, sneering viciously. "I discovered your pathetic secret. Your precious cottage sits atop valuable land. You're hiding a small fortune." My heart sank. The cottage, my sanctuary, my mother's legacy, now threatened. "You thought you could humiliate me, making me look cruel in front of everyone," she spat bitterly, her voice shaking. "Well, I'll make sure you lose everything." As she stormed away, dread filled me. How could my humble sanctuary harbor wealth that would bring such turmoil? My refuge was now in jeopardy, and Vivian had the power to destroy the very thing that had given me hope. Vivian's threats quickly turned into actions. Lawyers and surveyors appeared on the property, investigating my mother's land. Panic surged through me, but I remembered Mr. Edwards' wise words. "Your strength is your kindness." Determined to face this challenge head-on, I calmly gathered my mother's old papers, desperately searching for anything to protect my home. Long nights blurred into exhausted days, my resolve never wavering. The mansion staff, once distant, rallied around me, moved by my courage and vulnerability. United, they supported me openly, defying Vivian's cruelty. With each passing day, tension built dramatically. Everyone knew that soon the final confrontation would come, deciding the fate of everything I cherished. Finally, the inevitable showdown arrived in a tense meeting within the mansion's grand hall. Vivian stood confidently beside her expensive lawyers, eyes blazing with victory. Mr. Edwards silently stood by me, a comforting presence as I nervously clutched my mother's documents. Vivian began her vicious accusations, depicting me as deceitful and opportunistic. Yet, when my turn to speak arrived, something deep inside me changed. I spoke clearly, firmly, sharing openly how I'd lived humbly and honestly, never seeking fortune or revenge. "This cottage," I declared emotionally, "represents my mother's values, integrity, dignity, and kindness. I ask nothing but to honor her memory." The sincerity in my voice resonated through the room, softening even the hardened faces of Vivian's attorneys. As silence fell, Mr. Edwards stepped forward, revealing documents proving my mother's original intent. Her clear wishes to preserve the cottage as a sanctuary of kindness, not profit. The lawyers hesitated. Vivian's arrogant certainty visibly crumbled. Defeated, she fled the room, her humiliation complete and public. Overwhelmed, I sank into relief, tears of gratitude flowing freely. The staff surrounded me, expressing solidarity and respect for the man I'd become through adversity. Later, reflecting alone under the stars, I realized the true treasure I'd discovered wasn't money or land. It was the power of integrity, compassion, and inner strength. Yet, one lingering question remained. Could Vivian ever find redemption? Perhaps that story was yet to unfold, another lesson awaiting us all. If my story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Has kindness ever changed your life? I'd love to hear your story.